Good morning and welcome to the Student Hub Live. My name's Karen Foley and I'm a lecturer here at the Open University, and I'm delighted to be hosting today's event for the School of Education, Childhood, Youth and Sport. It's the specific orientation programme for you guys, and I know that there are lots of excited students out there who are studying a whole range of things. But some of you may not have been to an event like this before, so let me briefly tell you how it all works. So we've got a packed programme, and I mean absolutely packed, full of content throughout today. And you can see what we've got lined up for you on the Student Hub Live website. You can drop in and drop out, you can watch what you want to, you can chat to everyone, which is the best part of the whole experience of today, and you can do that in the chat box. Now, anything goes in that. HJ's on the chat today and Sarah will be there as well, and they will feed us all of your questions and concerns. But you might also want to talk about what you've had for breakfast, or who's in the house with you, your study buddies, or your favourite highlighters that you've just gone out and purchased for the new academic year. So anything goes in that, but the important thing is that this is your space to ask questions. So HJ, how is everybody at home?
We're doing really well. Chat's filling up fast, and it's great to see what people are studying as well. Lots of people studying sport and fitness, early childhood. Suzanne is doing the postgraduate as well. She's starting her second module, which is fantastic. We've got some great sessions later on today for postgraduates. Sarah's doing the Access course, Youth, People and Community, which is fantastic. I know everyone has a good time on those courses. So, yeah, we're doing really well in the chat. As Karen said, anything goes in the chat. Any of your thoughts, comments or questions, I'm here to put it to our fantastic guests in the studio, and I know they'd love to hear from you. And if there's anything you want to tell me, any study tips, I love those. I'd love to put them on my board behind me. Or if there's anything interesting that you found out recently, we'd love to know as well.
Perfect. Thank you, HJ. So HJ will be looking after you in the chat, but there's other things that you can do as well. You'll see lots of widgets or interactive tools that we've asked you about: where you are in the country, how you're feeling right now, which level you're studying, and various other things that you can fill in at your leisure. And when you fill those in, you can see what everyone else thinks also. So to do those, you just click on a multi-choice option or a map. It's fairly self-explanatory. But the word clouds need 3 boxes filled in. But if you can't think of 3 things, that's absolutely fine. You can just put 1 or 2 and a full stop in there, and then your results will submit. And you can also see what other people at home say also. So do fill those in. It gives us a great indication of how you are, what you're doing, etc. And it's lots and lots of fun. We've also got our email, which is studenthub@open.ac.uk. So if there's something that you'd like to ask but don't feel that you want to do it in the chat, you can do that also. And if the chat's moving really, really fast, you can either just ignore it, change the interface so the screen's bigger, or there's a little pin button on the top right-hand side of that chat that you can use just to hold it and see what people are saying a little bit more slowly. But without further ado, we're going to welcome you by introducing you to some members of the faculty and also students. And that's one of the great things about today. You're going to meet loads and loads of people you're going to meet in your studies along the way. So I'm joined by Sarah Jones, who is a student here at the Open University and will be with us in a lot of sessions. Kieran McCartney, who's also a tutor and member of the Health and Fitness team. Yeah. And Tyrrell Golding as well from Childhood Studies area. So we're here to welcome new students. Sarah, can I start with you? What is so exciting about being a new student, and what do you have to say to everybody at home?
It is the most exciting thing. For me, it was a new start. It was one of the most exciting, but also the most scariest thing I've done, because taking on doing a course of any level when you've not studied for a while is really, really hard. But I'm now just about to start my level 3s, and I love it. And I know that all these students that are on here today are going to feel this sense of excitement and being scared, but actually it is the most brilliant thing and the most rewarding thing.
So at level 3 then, what do you remember sort of reflecting back to where you were ever so slightly nervous and terribly excited?
I was scared stiff, literally scared stiff, didn't know what to do. I chose the Open University because I could sit behind my computer, I could ignore the world. I'm definitely not doing that now. I had a good look around the website, the module website. I had a good look at the library website, and I found out so much stuff. And then I started interacting with other students and realised there were so many other people out there feeling exactly the same way that I was feeling. And even now, I'm going into my level 3s. I opened my module website. I panicked, shut it down, looked at what other students were saying, and actually they're still feeling the same thing, whether it's a level 1 or whether it's a level 3, you still feel the same thing. But yeah, it's
So
great.
meeting other people and seeing other levels of mild panic has been quite reassuring for you, has it?
Absolutely, yes.
So what, sometimes it can be a bit daunting, particularly I've gone on some websites and everyone's like, oh, I'm doing really well. And I think, oh, I'm the only one who's not. And sometimes the people who are not don't really say they're not, but partly because they're not, they're doing something else. But you wanted to sort of talk about the range of ways of getting involved in stuff as well. What are some of the things that you found useful?
I've got really involved in, I at first, when I went to a tutorial, I just sat there on the Adobe Connect session and just listened. I didn't interact with the chat box. I didn't speak to my tutor. I was too scared to do any of that. But the more it went on, the more I chatted with the other students in the chat box, the more my confidence grew, and I was able to ask questions, and I learnt so much more. I learnt from my fellow students as well as from my tutor, and building up that relationship with my tutor has been very, very important. And I've also got involved with the Students' Association, and I've got extremely involved in the Students' Association, and that's been great because I've seen students not just from my area of study, but from right across the university, and it's felt like I've been part of something bigger, and that has been brilliant.
Yeah. Brilliant. We'll come on to you in a bit, Kieran, and talk about teaching, but I wanted to ask Tyrrell from the academic side first, how we get students involved in a range of activities.
Well, I think there are lots and lots of different ways that we try and get students involved, and we're really working hard with Sarah and building relationships across the piece to see how we can do that more effectively. But we do things such as online consultations that students can be part of. So we'll be talking later, Sarah and I are coming back and sharing some aspects of the consultation we did this summer with students who were studying full-time with us. And the learning that we had there. We have students involved in groups, perhaps focus groups, when we're looking at redeveloping our curriculum. We might ask students to be critical readers as we're developing modules, or participating in a first year of a module in order to help us to develop it over time. So there's a huge number of sort of ways that we involve students at that particular stage. But also there are the kind of more formal processes. So at the end of module, we have SEAM. At the end of students on a module, thank you very much. You will, if you're new, you will hear loads and loads of what we call 3-word acronyms. So TMA and all sorts of things like that. And eventually you start speaking fluent OU, and then you forget what they stand for. And then there's the NSS that Sarah and I will be coming back and talking to colleagues and you about later on in your studies. So there are a range of different ways, and today is the big kind of start of building relationships. I think at this point I'd want you to be building relationships with your fellow students and your tutors, and then later on just being aware that we will send messages out to you. We will talk to you about different ways that you can get involved, and I noticed HJ was saying we've got students at postgrad level, we've got students at studying at different levels. So right now the focus is enjoying and settling into your modules, and then we'll come back and make sure that you don't miss out on all those opportunities.
Brilliant. Well, most of our students, you've been filling in our widgets, thank you very much. Most people watching right now are at level 1, and the largest category in terms of the modules are childhood and youth, with 43% of students right now doing that area, followed by health and sport and fitness, and then childhood studies and education and other areas as well. So that's absolutely fantastic. You've also been telling us what you're studying, which is great, but I'd really like to take a look at why you're studying, because I think that will draw up some important things that we can then contribute. So let's see what you had to say when we asked the question, why are you studying? So interest is the main thing, but career and career change is one of the key areas. To get a degree, child psychology, to see if I can. So really, really important things there. Teaching primary, making kids proud. I mean, that is a key area that I think all of us have seen a lot. To help others, so those motivations that go beyond the individual benefit you get from studying. Life, knowledge, personal development, etc. So lots and lots of things there.
And I think it's really interesting, and we know this from our students, that many of our students are here as part of their career. So you might already be working in a primary setting and you want to change your role within primary education. I'm a youth and community worker by background. So it may be that you're completely changing career, or you're kind of progressing your career. I just wanted to highlight how important our careers guidance service is for all of our students. It's available for you up to 3 years after you graduate. But we were talking to colleagues last week And one of the things that we were discussing is actually how important it can be to have a conversation around what options you might want to choose when you're at that stage as well. So I just wanted to, again, it might not be something that you're thinking about right now, but that service is there for you. And there are so many services available that you might not use all the time, but just to be aware of them. And Sarah and I are having lots of conversations about how we can ensure that you're really aware of all that is available.
Yeah. Now, no one's acknowledging that they're from the north of England right now, so click on that map if you haven't already and let us know where you're at. I know. Okay, so there's lots and lots of things going on, and it can feel a little bit overwhelming, I think, because there's so much the OU do. I mean, you can have these consultations with the careers service, you can, log onto the library, there's plenty of opportunity there. But the tutor is one of the most important sort of central points of contact, and I think it's one of those things that when you don't know what to do, and there's so much out there, it's a good person to connect with, but not everyone's been allocated their tutor quite yet, which is not a problem. How does that relationship work, Kieran?
Probably the best way to explain that relationship is to compare it to myself as a student at the OU and beforehand. When I first started out as a student, I went to Brick University, so the only thing I had to worry about was getting to my lessons every morning, which was I used to come in with sheet marks on my face because it was literally a stone's throw away, and obviously socialising. But when
You set up study groups, Kieran?
of course, yeah, and
Discuss things.
yeah, we discussed things. We had hand-to-mouth coordination at the bar. But what happened then was actually when I graduated and I started studying with the Open University at undergraduate and postgraduate as well, something dawned on me, and it relates to the tutor role. No one studies harder than a part-time student. Because when I started studying at Open University, I was married, I had 3 kids, I had a mortgage, I was paying for a car, I had a full-time job, I was travelling to work. And one of the things, back to your question, Karen, about the tutor role, is that tutors know what that's like. They know that you're a part-time student, that you're balanced, you're spinning a lot of plates, or as we'd say back home in Ireland, you've got a lot of planes in the air and there's a couple going to come onto land, and you're balancing that. The role of the tutor is to facilitate or make the human side of the content more real, but also to help you navigate that learning experience, and not to be a counsellor in your life, but to, as things inevitably sometimes go wrong, you get sick, your child's not well, you have to take time off work, your tutor is there to help you navigate that learning experience. And for me, looking as a student, looking back, that my role as a tutor, that's what I'm there for. Because for me, education isn't just about learning content, it's about personal growth. And I think, looking at that list of people down there and all the things they said, if you actually go right down to the bottom of that, it's not just about learning new stuff, it's about growing as a person, being better than what you are. Yeah. And that's what your tutor's there for. To help you.
That's lovely. I'd like to go to HJ because there's also some lovely comments as well coming in.
Yes, there's loads of great study motivations, and there's a lot of change happening alongside people studying as well. So Naomi actually taught in a nursery in Japan, so she's looking to study to expand her knowledge, and so she can have more opportunities working abroad as well. And Louise as well is looking to move another country, and she's changing careers. So I think that thing about part-time students working hard, there's so much going on in our lives. There's a fantastic comment from Corinne. His motivation is career change from being an economist to working with the body. He's studying sport and fitness. And Sarah's studying, she's looking to go into the BA in primary education from the Access as well. So there's loads of great motivations from study, and it's fantastic to see.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And I think it's really good. I mean, we're all OU students and been OU students at different phases. And what I used to do, and I loved your comment about, I mean, put me in Staples or put me in a shop where I can just sit and stare at highlighters and I'm never happier. Gosh, yeah. But putting some of those motivations now, post-it notes round your computer screen or on your, somewhere that you can see them, and that I found has really helped me. It's quite a simple thing, but holding on. So I think you're absolutely right about personal growth. Change is really what this is all about, changing your ideas, changing your understanding, or maybe changing your career, growing. And And we talk about change like it's really easy. Actually, it can be really, really challenging.
Yes.
And that's when, you know, you might come up across an idea that you find really challenging and that it's not easy. So change isn't easy, and we understand that, and we're here to support where we can, and help you find and navigate your way through it.
Yeah. But add that as well, actually, I'm sure there's a lot of level 1 students out there too. The important thing to remember is that your tutor has been where you are and they know what it's like. And if I was to go back, give myself a couple of pieces of advice when I studied at level 1, and the first one would be to remember that initially at level 1, the grade that I achieve is not reflective of how good a person I am.
Yeah.
It's a reflection of the resources, the time I had available, given everything else that was going on, and other things in my life. It's not a reflection of how smart I am or my capability. The other thing I tell myself as well is that at level 1, it's about orientating yourself to prepare for level 2 and level 3, where your grades do count towards your classification. So use level 1 to get the best grade you can and a good solid base. So when you go into level 2 and level 3, you do really well.
I think it's a really good point. I mean, I've had comments back from students about, oh, I didn't, you know, I got this grade, but I tried really hard. And sometimes when you're learning something new, you have to try really hard. But you know, trying really hard and grade are not the same thing. And Kieran's absolutely right that it doesn't make you a bad human being. It doesn't even make you a bad student.
No.
It's part of that process. And the other thing that is one of my mantras is there's only one stupid question, and it's the question you don't ask. And I've been in many classrooms, and you've probably got some sense of me having a certain amount of confidence. I'm quite happy to ask the question that I actually know most of my peers in the room are secretly thinking, I wish somebody would ask that, but I don't want to be the one. You know, and actually be the student that asks the questions, because your fellow students will love you for it.
And of course, being new is the perfect excuse to ask loads of questions, because 2 years on or so, it's not so cool, but early on it is the time. And also there are whole new systems and things. I wanted to end by talking about this notion of community, because it's something in, you know, the whole sort of area of wellbeing education, language studies, that's so important in terms of communities of practice, sharing advice and sort of sounding out ideas. What advice would you give to students with that in mind about when and when not to connect in those sort of learning communities, be that with your tutor, other students, or even maybe with smaller study groups or in tutorials?
I think it's really good to, especially level 1, to make sure that your main focus is your tutor group forum and everything to do with your module. That should be a main focus. There are lots of other communities that you can be involved in, including groups on Facebook, on WhatsApp groups, but the problem with those is that your tutor's not there. So if some bad information gets through, you could be putting out bad information, and that's a really, you know, but if you're in your
worst case cheating.
Well, yeah, that too. And I think these are great for building relationships, but actually for the content of what you're studying, stick to your tutor group, because you've got really clever people in there who are wanting you to do the best that you can possibly do, and are there for you and want to get you on the right track, so that you're learning the skills, you're learning how to read critically, you're learning how to reference, you're learning how to do all these things that I know as a level 1 student I had no idea about at all, but my tutor was fantastic. And if you've got a module-wide forum, you've got tutors in there who are keeping an eye on the chat, you've got other students are chipping as well. But if something comes out that's not quite what's right, there's somebody who's in there who knows what they're talking about, who put everybody on the right track.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's using the spaces differently for different purposes. So it's great if students want to get together on Facebook, and I've been on modules with great Facebook pages that's done some brilliant things. Sometimes, you know, students do find that an AL, it may be saying, 2 ALs are saying exactly the same thing, but because they're human beings, they use slightly different terminology, or we all, you know, actually that's what the breadth of having different people as part of our education experience is, that what somebody might explain a concept to you when you're sitting there confused, and somebody else explains it but in their own way, and that speaks to you. So we see that as a real strength. But obviously, and quite rightly, students will just query that with us sometimes. In the module space, that's where we can keep an eye on things and make sure that you're getting the best experience.
think
Last but by no means least.
all right, yeah. I may say, I'm going to have a confession moment.
No.
Too early in the day for that, Ken.
I think that one of the things you have to remember too is being a student at the OU can feel quite isolating, and one of the things you can easily fall into is procrastination. Yes. And I remember one time watching a program on napkin folding.
That's got to be the worst.
And I was actually a two-part, and I watched that rather than write an assignment. And
That worrying list that he chimes with me.
so I'd say to students that when you're at home, it's easy because sometimes you don't have people around you to push you on like other students in groups. So get involved with other people, and because that isolationism, you can start making excuses not to get things done. It's really, really easy to do. And the thing is too, it's such an insidious thing because it tends to creep in and you don't notice it until it's too late.
Until you're cleaning the fridge. When you're cleaning your fridge or your freezer, that is the time to sort of say, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I once reorganised all my spices and then put all the out-of-date ones in the bin and then made it can be terrible.
That's a good one.
But yeah, so you're all motivating each other in the chat, which is absolutely brilliant, and keep that up or you could end up like us. But with very clean spice racks and napkins, so could be worse. But thank you all, that's a lovely welcome, and Kieran, you're back in the next session to talk more about tutors, and we'll see you guys later in the programme today as well. Now there is heaps going on here and plenty more on the Student Hub Live website. We've also got a range of workshops, so you can check those out if you'd like to learn about things like focusing on the assignment question, time management, and those are all in Adobe Connect as well, so we've got lots and lots in store for you. And while this is a specific induction today, next Monday we have an event that will tell you everything about the OU more generally, so things like the virtual learning environment, will give you an opportunity to even try a tutorial and plenty more. Do check out the programme on the website as well for next Monday's session. Right, we've pre-recorded a video from the head of school who's going to introduce you to the school officially and also to some colleagues as well. So we're going to play that video and then we'll be back to talk about your tutor. See you in a minute.